Koshka to Veins is gonna get melted.
Do I think mobile esports is a phase? No, absolutely not.
And Hack just don't understand what happens.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Halcyon Report. I am your host again, Brad Chmielewski, and I'm joined by SuiJeneris and IraqiZorro. Welcome back, guys.
Hey, glad to be back.
Glad to be back too. What's up, Brad?
It's good to SuiJeneris. It's good to have you back here after you might have left us for the desk there. You did a great job this past weekend.
Yeah, thank you. It was so much fun, and so much goes behind the scenes, but glad I was able to make an impact and contribute as an analyst. I had such a great time the whole weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that kind of just is the first topic I wanted to dive into is the analyst desk. We saw some changes with you taking over for a humanist this past week who decided to step down to go back to more of a casting role. It didn't sound like it was anything like he anything bad happened. He just wanted to focus more on casting, and you were able to step in there basically like a natural, like coming from player to coach to the desk. It seemed to flow pretty well. Did you do any preparation going into that?
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot more on top of the normal prep work I do as a coach. I had to look at EU, so that was a tough time for me. I'm just kidding. But I had to research all the EU teams. Some people reached out to me on Twitter, like the laner for Lemon and Lime, who, by the way, was very helpful in helping me understand the EU meta and EU scene. But watching all of the EU videos and analyzing their play, their draft preferences, definitely helped a lot. It required a lot of homework, so to speak, and I wouldn't have been able to contribute as much, especially on the EU side, if I didn't do my due diligence. And I spent hours. I mean, I'm talking about 10 plus hours of VOD review just for EU alone, and not even including NA, to be able to comment and understand the teams better and stuff like that, so that we can deliver better viewing experience for the viewers. And it was a lot of fun. Humanist has a way better and sexier voice than I have. So I think casting for him is going to be much more fun. And also he's expecting a baby. I don't know if it's been delivered yet, but that's another reason as well. It's because he has to take care of his family. So it's not like he was fired or quit or whatever. There's nothing to do with that. I just came in at a good time to support that situation that he was going on, and also support SMC because they needed someone last minute to take over the desk.
Mm-hmm. So what was that experience like going and doing that? Were you kind of shocked at the, I guess, production that goes into it, just the manpower of it all? Like it's much more than just sitting behind the computer with the camera on, right?
Oh yeah, it's way more. There's we do hand signals, and I had to learn all this on the fly. It was crazy because I was interrupting people. I still do it, so I need to work on that, of course. But there's a lot of things that go behind the scenes. There's a production crew of 10 people that actually help us do it. There's a camera guy, a spec camera guy. Greg is the production manager that helps us. The replay guy, Rob, is amazing. Drew is a production guy. He's awesome. There's a girl that actually does the stats and the standings and the bracket graphics. Her name's Blair. So many people help make this possible. AJ works so much behind the scenes. He's the guy that's in charge of all of us and the whole thing. And he's an amazing host. His job is to keep things flowing and the conversation smooth. So if we run out of things to say or something happens where we're not expecting, you'll notice AJ just jump in naturally and just keep the show going, right? And it's amazing the amount of work and hard work he put in. And also Tasty Bacon, guys, he puts so much work into the stats. He does all of the stats work in terms of the win rates and all that. The amount of work that he puts in and that crazy Excel sheet that he works on really helps improve the analyst desk when we talk about heroes, win rates, and combinations and drafts and stuff like that. So shout out to Tasty Bacon for putting all that work in there.
And then Iraqi, you've been on the desk before, analyzing some games. Have you felt similar, that just the amount of work and just effort that goes into it is way more than people expect?
I definitely have, but the two times I've been on it was very different than SuiJeneris' experience. The first time I was on it, it was during Worlds, so it was a completely different setup, completely different production. And the second time I was on there was during the invitationals just before the kickoff of the spring season, and even then, it was just the beginning of the new setup that VG8 now has in the new production. So I don't have quite the experience that SuiJeneris has had so far, but you could tell the amount of work that goes into it, especially behind the cameras, the people that are in the production rooms, giving the cues off to the people on the desk and just preparing everything so that the entire show goes on smoothly. But for me too, it was a great experience, and SuiJeneris honestly did a great job this weekend, and it's really enjoyable to see someone who has so much insight from the competitive scene to go on the analyst desk and provide that insight and provide all these small different things that they can bring on that the usual analysts don't have, even though they're great at doing their job, but they don't quite see the exact perspective that we see from being coaches and being players inside the competitive scene. So it's really nice to have.
Yeah, that was something Fuji brought up on this video that he posted on his YouTube channel. Not that the casters were not knowledgeable about the game, they just maybe lacked some of that experience that you guys might bring to it as players to it. You just you know what's happening in those key moments that if you've only been a shoutcaster or just been an analyst, you might not know just what kind of goes into those moments. And that was like a big point I think I took away from his videos. Like until you're experienced the player and the analyst side, it seems like you can do it, but it's really hard.
Yeah, that video was amazing too. Like kudos to Fuji for posting that video. His analysis, it was spot on. And I agree with everything that he said. I think players need to not be as sensitive. I think it's okay to really point out mistakes because people want to learn from it. You're a pro player. You're an athlete. You got to have some tough skin to make it through the day. And also the goal is to balance humor with thoughtful analysis. It can't be all numbers analysis because that's going to be way too boring and way too mathematical, and that's not fun, right? You got to balance the humor and the banter with really good analysis. You want people to laugh. It has to be an experience, not like a download of information. It has to be entertaining. It has to be about impressive gameplay, and people that watch the stream should leave the stream having learned something cool that can help them play the game better, get awesome takeaways from the stream, learn why things worked and didn't, and actually be able to implement the stuff that they see on stream and hear on stream into the actual game. And that's going to help them enjoy Vainglory even more and enjoy watching and understanding, pro players when they watch Iraqi stream or Gabe Vizzo stream and stuff like that. And so that's really the goal of the desk, is to bring all that together and provide a very enriching viewer experience so that they can enjoy Vainglory and support their community and players even further.
Yeah, I think that's kind of is the theme for this week's episode of Halcyon Report. It's kind of analyzing what's happened in EU and the teams as we go into these challenger battles. So that kind of brings me to the next topic about EU. SuiJeneris, you said you got to watch a lot more of those games and pay attention to them maybe than previously, but it seems like the EU side is, I want to say, stepping it up. Like they're picking up characters and kind of maybe looking to what NA is doing a little more.
Yeah, they're trying to catch up, like picking hard counter picks like Taka into mages. I love that they're doing that because before they will just play what their comfort picks are and just always pick Kestrel and play Kestrel all the time. Some teams still do that, and those are teams that coincidentally are struggling. They definitely are playing a more NA style early game aggression, so it's more fun to watch. Nothing against EU, but it's not fun if there's like 15 minutes going and there's like no kills. Vainglory is built around early jungle fights, early aggression that makes it super exciting to see teams outplay each other, in the 2-minute, 5-minute mark, etc. Like SK shutting down Fnatic with the lane lands. Oh my god, that was such an amazing game. Support Dagio with Samuel. Those are the things that make the game so much fun when people innovate and they play early aggression. I still think EU is behind NA though. I'm sure Iraqi can shed more light here, but like they don't play Koshka when she's extremely strong as a jungler. Of course there's hard counters to her. And they don't play a lot of Flicker where Flicker has a strong place in the meta right now, I feel, based on what people are picking. So I'm sure kind of Iraqi will shed more light about what he feels about EU versus NA in terms of stepping things up. But EU has gone a long way. They definitely have stepped a lot in terms of the early game aggression. I want to continue to see their meta continue to progress.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you actually, Sui, in the sense that when it comes to Europe, the theme seems to be that they're lacking on the early game aggression when it comes to their gameplay. And I've actually talked to some of the players that I still have relationships with from playing in Europe, and as the season has progressed, that's what we've seen. They're really good teams, really good players, nothing lacking there, but I think their understanding of how hard you can shut a team down if you play aggressively correctly with the right comp is a little bit behind of North America. And from talking to the players, they seem to recognize that to themselves. And I want to touch a little bit on going into the Unified Championships that's going to be happening towards the end of the season. I actually think if Europe doesn't pick up on that, then they're still going to be behind of North America. If they don't play the really aggressive early game comps that are available and are strong right now in the meta, and if they don't quite play it properly, then they're not going to be strong enough, in my personal opinion. I do think Europe tends to play what they are more comfortable playing rather than what's really strong in the current time, or what's going to perhaps be the strongest against the comp that they're going up against. It's more about their comfort picks, and I think that's probably the main reason for the picks that we keep seeing coming out of Europe, and the no Koshkas, the no flickers, like Sui has touched on. And I just hope I do hope Europe, like, they do recognize it, but I really want, once we get to the Unified Championships, the two regions to be a lot more closer. And I personally don't think that is the case right now, but hopefully with the second split, I'll be proven wrong.
Yeah, hopefully. Like, you gotta check out your competitors and see what they're doing, because like you said, if you don't, if NA is not looking at EU and paying attention to their picks, and EU's not looking at NA and seeing what they're picking, you could be in for a lot of trouble going into those unified finals. And so, speaking of those, on the NA side, TSM has been the only team so far, I think, to guarantee their place in the unified finals, so they have enough points. So they're there. And then as far as Gangstars goes, guys were in second place and then had some missteps with the last couple weeks. Just I think a tougher side of the bracket kind of happened, and just didn't seem as strong, and it allowed Cloud9 and the Hammers to kind of come up there and take that second and third place spot. What'd you think of this, Iraqi? Like, are you guys just not? It was the bracket side, or maybe just Synergy wasn't there these last couple weeks?
I mean, I would definitely say it's a little bit of both. But as a team and as a player personally, I never like to blame it on something other than how we're performing. But that's the nature of the system that we currently have, right? I mean, first 2 weeks we ended up in the finals, and that's why we got to the second place. And the last 2 weeks, first week we finished fourth, and the next one we got knocked out in the first rounds against Cloud9. And it just shows how, like, if you don't continue performing consistently, that you can fall and you can drop down and teams will surpass you. As far as what's happening, I do think it's facing Cloud9 is one of obviously the tougher teams, finishing second this split, I believe. And also us not quite finding our stride. And it's a little bit of the growing pain, as you might say. We started the split strong. Now we're facing a little bit of trouble, so we're trying to find how we can work through it and how we can support one another as teammates and grow as a team. So that's what's going on. Finishing fourth, it's not what we wanted, but it's also a good start. Second split, if we can pick it up, if we can place a lot better, I think our goal is going to be to finish either first or second, so that we can get that bye on the first day when it comes to the live championships. If you don't know, if you finish first or second in either one of the regions, then you don't play on the first day. You just go straight to the second day during the live championships, which is a huge deal. So that's going to be the goal for us for the second split.
Yeah, it does seem like it's hard, these top four teams, in NA, TSM, Cloud9, Hammers, and Gangstars, these four teams, it's going to be hard for the other teams to kind of steal that spot away, really, especially with I think the bottom two teams don't have any points, and it's I don't know. You got like those four teams would have to mess up quite a bit in the second split. SuiJeneris, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, those four teams that you just mentioned can take any single week away. Any of these teams can be champions for that week. And it boils down to which team is more prepared and more innovative that week. I'm not talking about last week or the month. It's just that specific week. Who can break the current meta, such as countering Koshka, etc., and who can really outplay and outdraft their opponent. You know, there's four things I talked about on stream over the weekend is draft, synergy, mechanics, and strategy. What's going to set these teams apart to win it all is the strategy piece and the draft piece, I feel, are the two most important, as they are all pretty much close in synergy and sheer mechanics. The teams are pretty even. There might have a slight advantage in a slight way in those two areas, but honestly, it's really the strategy and the draft is really what's going to set these teams apart to help win the split 2 weeks to come. And that's something that, like you said, these top four teams are in a really good spot. So the fifth place team, like Immortals, and the winner of the Rogue versus Necrolite Challenger team, they're going to have to play really well to upset, because the goal is, from a point standpoint, is you don't want to be the fifth or sixth team, because you're going to face the number 1 or 2 team. So if TSM is number 1, then the sixth place team is going to play TSM in the live championships. If Cloud9 is number 2, then the number 5th team is going to face Cloud9, the number 2 team, in the live championships. That's how round 1 is going to work. So you want to be aiming for that 4th or 3rd place spot, so that you have an opponent that is not as maybe potentially strong as Cloud9 and TSM and how they looked this split, right? So we'll see how that's work out. It will be a battle of the points. It's going to really come down to Hammers and Gangstars and Cloud9 kind of battling it out if TSM is going to be consistent. I mean, Gangstars, Cloud9, or Hammers can still pull through and be number 1 if they beat TSM consistently. So it could go either way, but the 5th place team like Immortals has a lot to prove split 2, so that they don't put themselves in that spot to be the 5th or 6th place team. So it's going to be a very exciting split 2 for sure. I'm really looking forward to us playing on a new patch.
Yeah, the new patch could, of course, change things up quite a bit.
Yeah,
Never know
definitely.
what could happen. And you mentioned Rogue and Necrolite. Yeah, we got those challenger battles coming up, and this is a lot on the line here, and a lot that's going to change for, I think, these challenger teams. So this coming weekend, they're going to be facing those bottom 3 teams that were in the Vainglory8. So on the EU side, it's Lemon and Lime, Fluffy Chicken, and Late Cobras versus Rising Lotus, Denali Esports, and Mouse Esports. And then on the NA side, it's One Piece, Libex, and they're going to be facing Misfits, Echo Fox. So they're going to have these double bans. It's going to be on the new update 2.3. There's a lot on the line. I'd love for us to get some predictions in here. Iraqi, if you want to kick things off, what do you think is going to happen here?
I mean, it's going to be, at the very least, it's going to be a very enjoyable weekend of great sets of Vainglory matches. I don't know too much about the European side. I know Rising Lotus right now is the highest when it comes to this point standings, when it comes to the VG8. So playing against Lemon and Lime, they picked them specifically so that they can get those points, and they have a better chance of qualifying to the live championship. So that's actually one of the interesting talking points, which is that they wanted to go for the risky matchup, which is against the supposedly better team. Supposedly, I say, because of, again, the points that they have. But as far as North America, to me, that's gonna be where I'm gonna be looking. One Piece against Misfits, Libex against Echo Fox, and Rogue or Necrolite against Rogue. I definitely wouldn't have wanted to be in either one of these teams' shoes from the VG8 side. All of the challenger teams are looking very strong right now, especially coming from the side of One Piece and Libex. As far as predictions, I do think One Piece and Libex will end up making it to VG8. That's just my personal opinions. Misfits right now, they are great players, but they're not looking too strong, especially not as a team, in my opinion. their hero pools are a little bit lacking. And Echo Fox, we had everyone saw so much potential for that team, but not quite showing yet. Maybe they haven't just found their strive, as I was saying before, when it comes to synergizing well as a team. So that's my personal prediction. I do think Rogue will take it against Necrolite, specifically because the last day of Challengers, seeing Necrolite didn't play quite well. So I saw a little bit of room for mistakes in how they play, and I think Rogue might be able to capitalize on it if they put in the effort, if they prepare really well. I do think it's all going to be about the double ban system, though, because the Challenger teams coming out from the Challenger scene, they have never played on the double ban before competitively, while VG8, obviously, the teams have been playing on it all season long. So it's going to be about how well both sides prepare for that and what type of preparation they bring in.
SuiJeneris, kind of the same things, or any countering?
Yeah, very
things
similar.
there?
I think the best matchup to watch is definitely going to be Lemon and Lime versus Rise and Lotus. They're pretty skillful two teams that are very equal in skill. I think Lemon Lime is more decisive. I feel like feel much more prepared and hungry. They have their whole team actually is formerly VG8 players. Fluffy Chickens, I think, is going to take over Denao Esports. Again, Fluffy Chickens looked very strong, very high synergy, pretty decent at draft. Denial relies way too much on comfort picks. They're way too predictable, and they're very indecisive as well. They play a very passive, aggressive type of style. And I think Late Cobras will beat Mouse Sports. Mouse Sports is looking very, very weak. I think it has to do with a morale issue on the team. More so anything, because those players are very good players, but I feel like there's a morale issue, there's a lack of trust, a lack of decision making, shot calling, draft. I mean, there's so many things that team needs to work on. So I don't see Mouse Sports making it through there. So EU, I think all the Challengers teams will make it into the VG8. NA, I agree with Iraqi for the most part. One Piece is going to beat Misfits because Selena, along with Lost Boy Toph and Poli, such a strong team, and with Selena as a top laner, and Misfits has been very inconsistent. LibX is going to be a very close one with Echo Fox. It could go either way, but I know Pawn. I played with Miko and I played with Cole, and I know how Status and Pawn play, and I feel like LibX will be more decisive than Echo Fox. And that's what's going to help them win the game, is because they're going to be able to make more plays. And you saw that happen in the Challenger battles when they faced off against, One Piece and the Rage Pingers. Oh my god, those games were just insane in terms of the back and forth. But Echo Fox, I feel, lacks that strategic, decisive playmaking ability. The strategy, I would rate them low on. They're high on mechanics. They're pretty decent on synergy. But I feel like their draft and their strategy is something that they really need to work on from a team standpoint. And finally, Rogue versus Necrolite. I think Rogue is going to take it away because Necrolite is very predictable. Standing solo doesn't have the biggest jungle pool. He loves Ozo, so I think Rogue is going to be able to target ban and kind of outdraft Necrolite. I feel like from a team standpoint, Necrolite has strong synergy. They both are equal in synergy. Necrolite might be a little more decisive, which may turn around some of the team fights in the game, because I feel like Necrolite plays very sneaky. And Rogue too. Rogue actually plays really sneaky as well. So that's going to be a very close one, but I think Rogue is going to edge it out because of their ability to practice and scrim under the 2-ban format, and like the enormous hero pool that their jungler and laner and support can play, which is going to give them a huge leg up in terms of being able to get a great draft against Necrolite. So those are kind of my thoughts on NA and EU. I can't wait to watch that weekend. It's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, no, it's actually an interesting point that you touched on. Sorry, Bira, but it's an interesting point that Sui touched on with Echo Fox, which is that they lack in strategy. They seem to be indecisive. And I just wanted to see, because I've played both with Lone Delphi and with Cold Amic, obviously, in the past on teams. And as far as Miko, I've lived with him for over a month in Korea during the VIPL, the second VIPL. And I think the issue, like the root issue for that problem that they're having as a team, comes from they don't have someone who's in-game that's going to be an in-game leader that's going to lead the team, tells them, okay, this is what we're going to do next, this is the objective we're going for, basically pushes the team forward and helps them with the strategy on the fly. I don't think they have a player who has that personality quite to show up and lead the team. And I think perhaps that's the root issue. And I believe Fuji actually touched on this previously on the last time he was, or during the last time he was on the Halcyon report. So maybe if one of the players is able to step up during these challenger battles, we'll see a completely different Echo Fox.
And Rogue, on the Rogue front, like they looked really strong this last week of Vainglory8. They seemed to, I guess, have the synergy as a team, and they were putting up some really good fights. So yeah, I have to agree. I think they're gonna edge that battle out. On the One Piece 101, is this with or without Lost Boy? Because I believe he's a sub, or he didn't play all the games during the Challenger battle, and that last, I think it was the last day or last 2 days, he was there and kind of brought that team to take that number one spot.
I think they both were. Poli is a very good support along with Lost Boy Toph. It's Poli is more of the he likes to make plays and capitalize on the enemy's lack of opportunity, and Toph just makes plays. I mean, he looks for the right plays, and he's very reserved when it comes to when to use Fountain, when to Crucible, when to use his abilities to make plays. Like, he's very intentional of what he does, and he's just mechanically gifted from that standpoint. So both strong, both bring very different dynamics. As long as they just support Selena and their jungler, I think they'll be in really good shape.
I actually agree with Sui in terms of, I think the matchup is a lot more about what Selena Gomez and Hideous are going to be able to do in the lane and in the jungle. Whether Polly is supporting them or Lost Boy, as long as they perform consistently to what they have done in the past, I think it's not going to make too much of a difference. It is going to be about the lane matchup and the jungle matchup.
Okay, cool. Well, I can't wait to watch those. Everyone else should check them out as well coming up this weekend. And I'm sure we'll be back on the next Halcyon report talking about either these upsets or who's in and who's out. But guys, thank you for joining me on this week's episode. Always great to have you here.
Thank you, Brad.
Glad to be here. Thank you so much,
Pleasure.
Brad. Thank you, Iraqi. Take care, guys.